Hey, my name is John Griffith. I'm a software engineer at SolidFire, and I'm also the current project technical lead for the block storage project in OpenStack, codenamed Cinder. So today I want to do a quick screencast to talk about multi-backend support. I want to show you how to configure that and how to set it up so that you can specify which backend storage device you actually want to direct your create calls to. So we've got a couple other screencasts in this series that talk about volume types and extra specs, as well as configuring SolidFire in Cinder and things like that. So you might want to take a look at those first, give you some information and a little bit more of a background as far as what some of these things that we're going to do here are. As far as multi-backend support, the idea basically is to enable you to be able to do things on a single Cinder node, like add more storage devices. Sounds pretty simple, but up until Grizzly, that wasn't possible. So in the past, what you had to do was actually deploy another Cinder node. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and take an example that we have of an existing Grizzly setup that we have that's running on LVM, and we just brought in a SolidFire cluster, and we're going to add it into that Cinder node and set it up such that you can specify which device you want your block storage deployed on. So we'll go ahead and log on to our Cinder node here. So first off, take a look at how we've set this up. So we've basically just used all the defaults. So if you look at the volume group, you'll notice it's Cinder volumes. That's the default. Make sure we don't have any volumes. So nope, nobody's using it yet, so that's good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're just going to create the normal way we typically would. We're going to create a volume. Give it a display name, original OEM, and give it a size of 10 gig. Check that out. So that looks good, and we need to sudo LES. Sure enough, we're there. So that's great. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in now and we're going to edit our cinder.conf file to enable us to have the SolidFire backend usable as well. So we go in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make our first entry, which is enabled backends, and we get to call these whatever we want. I'm going to use LVM and SolidFire. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So first let's configure the LVM one. So LVM, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to explicitly set, even though we use the defaults, I'm going to set them all. So in case you use something different, you'll keep in mind, and it'll be kind of a reminder as far as what entries you want to have here. So volumes dir equals var lib cinder volumes, I believe. Volume group equals cinder volumes. Volume driver. Okay. Now, a new one that you need to add is volume backend name. Volume backend name is a new feature, and it's actually reported from the driver up to the scheduler through the capabilities call. So the scheduler, when it talks to the driver, it's actually going to get a list of capabilities from each driver, and one of them is going to be this volume backend name. In the case of the LVM driver, that is iSCSI. So you'll notice we have enable backends. We have our arbitrary names that we can pick to be whatever we want, and that's what we put in the heading here. And then we have an actual backend name. So those are two important things that you're going to need here in a minute. So now let's do our SolidFire. And we need P and SAN login. So these configuration entries, the SAN IP and the SAN login and the SAN password that I'm about to do, those are the OpenStack account settings and the MVIP setting from the SolidFire cluster. We talk about that in the other screencasts. If you're not familiar with it, go ahead and take a look at that, get some more information. It'll be pretty helpful. Since this is just a demo, we're not overly secure with our passwords. And backend name. In our case, we report up SolidFire just like that. Let's take a look and make sure we've got everything correct. Oh, we have a mistake right there. Fix that. Cinder volumes. Okay, it looks like everything is in order there. We can go ahead and quit out of that. The next step is to restart the Cinder volume service and the Cinder scheduler service. And we'll double check and just make sure that it started up okay. Looks good. Now the scheduler service. Status there, and that looks good. So at this point you could actually go ahead and just start creating volumes and utilize it as is, and let the capacity filter or one of the other built-in filters pick up and determine where things are sent. One use case for that would be, for example, if you had already had a SolidFire cluster or an LVM setup or some other backend, you already had it set up and you were running out of capacity and you were ready to expand it. What you would do is just go ahead and add that, and then new volumes would be deployed onto that one while your old volumes would still be available on the previous one that you had set up. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to actually show you how right now to actually set it up so that people can specify. So for example, if you had an LVM set up for some lower end performance and things like that, and then you had a SolidFire set up specifically for customers that needed higher performance for databases or whatever it might be, they could actually pick which one they wanted to use. You don't have to call it SolidFire, you don't have to call it LVM, they could be whatever names you want. They could be, category A, category B, high performance, whatever. So what we need to do here is we need to create a volume type for each one and extra specs keys for each one that specify what that backend name is. We have another screencast that talks about volume types and extra specs that are used for QoS settings on SolidFire. That'd be a good one to watch as well to get a little bit more information on volume types and extra specs if you're not familiar. But we'll go ahead and we'll roll through here. So first we create our volume types. Type create. First we'll do LVM, and then we'll do type create SolidFire. So now we need to assign some extra specs to those. So we'll do a type key and start with the LVM one. Do a set, and then the actual metadata that we're going to set is going to be that volume backend name. Just like that, and then do the same thing for the SolidFire volume. Okay, so take a quick look. There we go, and everything looks in order there. So let's go ahead and deploy a volume to our LVM backend. And we'll just do okay, and now we'll do the same thing on a SolidFire. Also notice you can use, when you do the create call for the volume type, you can use either the name or the UUID. So that's just something to keep in mind. There too. Okay, so now let's go back and do a Cinder list. And there's all three of our volumes. There's the old one before we changed our configs, and then the two new ones. So take a look at LVS and you'll see there's our two LVM volumes from above. And then we can go over to our SolidFire UI and do a refresh here. And there's our volume there as well. If we go to overview, you can see there's our 10 gig volume. Notice then again D057 and D05C7. So there we go. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that helps and explains a little bit, and hopefully it's a good guide for you to figure out how to get this up and running on your own. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or anybody else at SolidFire. We'd be happy to help. And thanks.